Mark, hey, congratulations for this new series, The Quest.
Thanks. Yeah.
So I understand you've done The Quest before, a few years ago, which is the original series on ABC, which I actually remember that, right?
Yeah. It was. Yeah. We shot it in 2013. I think it aired in 2014.
Yeah.
It was for ABC. It was. You know. It was a bit different. Where there was adults in it. We had 12 contestants, so when we shot in a castle in Austria, so it was a little different, but it was a good practice. I don't want to say practice, but it was good that we did this once before we went into this project in 2021. So we learned a lot on that first run.
So how did it brought you back to doing this again for the second time? Is this something you wanted to do? The Quest.
Well, I mean, the producers reached out when we were putting it back together again. It was the same creative team as the first time, and Disney obviously took it on, but they owned ABC, so I guess the intellectual property wasn't a problem. So they approached me because it's a different show. I don't know if you've seen it, but
I've seen both of them.
It's its own entity, if you will. Because it obviously has scripted portions and then it has competition portions, right? I like to say it's three parts. It's 1/3 movie, right? 1/3 competition, and then there's a third that's kind of this ad lib with the actors staying in character and real contestants, right? Being themselves and interacting. So that's basically live television, right? So it was an interesting project to take on to do that. And like I said, we learned a lot when we shot in Vienna in 2013, mixing the mediums of scripted and reality. And obviously the producers were the people that did Lord of the Rings and The Amazing Race, right? So very different genres of television, but we managed to merge them, I think, somewhat seamlessly, which was a challenge for sure. Yeah.
So as a photographer and cinematographer yourself, how do you approach, this hybrid, type of filmmaking?
Yeah, that's the $64,000 million question, because there was lots of discussions creatively, like how do we make this look, right? Because do we make it look like a movie, and do we have the reality portion look like reality, or the competition portion, so the viewer knows that those are not actors, they're actually really going through this? Or do we create a seamless look between the two worlds? How do we take this on? And we're telling stories here, so obviously we had a script to follow. And then, we immersed these kids into this world, and they would, do whatever they were going to do. And we had to make sure we captured that. So approaching it, I think this time, especially, the word, cinematic was thrown around a lot, because they wanted this fantasy world to have a high-end Lord of the Rings look, right? So I thought, 8 years ago or 7 or 8 years ago when we did the other one, it was a little different time. Cinematic full chip cameras were just coming out, and reality had a very specific look to it right now. And also, I think the immersion of people with cameras around them is different. Now everybody is FaceTime. We're all on, we're doing this on Zoom right now. It's accepted practice for people to have cameras around them all the time, right? So, and it's also more believable, I think. So when I took on this, we kind of just went down the road. Let's just make it look as high end as possible, right? So we stayed with one look, and I went down the road of, I watched a lot of television and the streaming networks and all of that, and decided to shoot anamorphic widescreen. So we shot the whole show widescreen. And I think this is one of the first competition reality shows ever done with that widescreen cinematic format, which is sort of unique. So we had a little bit of a technical process that we entered in. I don't necessarily need to go down that rabbit hole, but you know, we shot you know, anamorphic prime lenses on the scripted portions, and then we went into crop, sensor, zoom lenses for the competition and reality portions. But also creatively, in this time that we did something very different too, is we didn't do any background packages on the contestants. We didn't do any interviews. We didn't do any OTF on the fly interviews either. So, you know, being, you know, the difference on network television, you know, what you have kind of a structure that, you know, okay, who are these people? And, you know, you go, this is Timmy from, you know, Kentucky. He's a math student. You do a little story with him for 30 seconds or a minute. So we know who all the characters are, right? And then you interview them along the way to see how things are going and the challenge and, you know, blah, blah, blah. We didn't do any of that this time. So we had, we built organic set pieces such as a fire pit for the kids to come down and kind of, we learn who they are and their struggles through them conversing with each other in a very organic manner. So that's kind of how we get to know everybody. And, you know, obviously on streaming versus network, you binge watch. So we can do character development over several shows to see who people are. You don't need to tell them all in the pilot episode, you know, who they are. You kind of, that's kind of one of the reasons you keep watching, is to find out who these people really are. So we went in it as organic as we could. And we, you know, I really wanted to maintain the style, the look of it. So, you know, we went in trying to make this look like a $200 million fantasy movie. And it goes for, you know, the skill set of the crew was very important, because we had to have, you know, in the world of filmmaking, you have your film crews and then you have your reality television crews, right? They're very different in their skill sets, right? So every department, every camera operator, sound, everybody had to have this, these multiple skills to be able to, you know, work on a techno crane, shooting the movie portion, and then snap the camera off that thing, put it on their shoulder and chase kids through the woods at night, you know? So it was picking the crew and working with everybody. They, like I said, they had to have this, both skill sets. We're, you know, basically shooting a, you know, a very expensive movie on a reality budget and schedule.
So for you personally, because you have experience on both unscripted and scripted series, which side do you tend to find to be easier?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't find either one of them to be easier. I think, you know, movie making, I love both, right? I mean, here's what I really love about like The Quest is it's different. I like doing something different, taking something and, you know, building it from scratch, you know, I'm not taking over another show that's already been done and has a look already. We're creating something that's never really been done before, right? So I enjoy filmmaking on all levels. I just love telling stories, right? So some stories are scripted and some stories evolve through the documentary process of, you know, of being live television or a competition, right? That's a story, right? So I just love being around telling stories. So yeah.
Now, how did you handle like some of these action sequences where it's sort of a, you know, reality competition and scripted at the same time? I mean, switching cameras must have been really tough, trying to get, you know, all these perfect shots at the same time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, we had to really, I'll tell you what, you know, we really prepped this thing. We did as much prep as possible. Now, you know, but you can only prep so much with the unknown. And, you know, reality and competition is a lot of unknowns, right? But we have to be ready for that. So that's why they're different animals, you know. You can, like in the scripted portions, you know, we block the scene with the actors and then we kind of know where we're going to put the cameras for the coverage. And then, you know, and then in the competition component, we place cameras where we think people are going to go. right? But we don't know that for sure. So that's the exciting part, right? That's what makes it interesting. It's, again, live television, and that's what keeps you going. So in some of the action sequences, we had cameras, rigged and hidden to make sure we would try to get shots where we thought certain action points would happen, or what have you. But yeah, it was unique when we were sitting in the booth watching it. It was always fascinating. I'll say that.
I was gonna say there were like so many different camera angles, camera shots. I mean, I want to say the wisps thing, that those were like drone shots. I mean,
Yeah.
you did the full gambit on a
Yeah.
series like this.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we came back and picked up the the wide shots, because we couldn't fly drone. I mean, we would see all the equipment and all the people and stuff. So I came back and we shot the drone footage later. But yeah, I mean, and with this too, is we did almost all the visual effects in camera because we needed the kids to see whatever was going on. We couldn't have them react to a green screen or a tennis ball or something, right? So we needed them to see. So in I forget which episode, 3 or 4, we have the Whispits going around, well, those were drones. We actually had something for them to look at. So we were flying the drones with lights around. So they had, they reacted to something. All the costumes and all the special effects makeup, there was no touching up in post. They were all that high quality there. So we got the real effect to the kids, and they didn't look hokey. They really looked scary. And, the actors were very, very good. All the actors were amazing because they had rehearsed their character for so long and knew their lines so well that no matter what the kids would ask them or whatever the scenario was, they knew how to respond in character, and also something that would advance the story and not just be, something we couldn't use. They just did an amazing job because it was, again, live television, most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this kind of gets people who watch the Quest part, get them excited for the Lord of the Rings series that's coming out pretty soon themselves.
Yeah.
The makeup, the costumes, they look so great.
Yeah, they did a great job. Yeah, really good job.
Now, one of the I want to say maybe 70% of the shots were outdoors, and some of them were at night. What was that significantly challenging for you as a photographer, cinematographer?
Oh yeah, well, night exteriors are always a challenge, right? Because wherever light does not hit is dark, right?
Yeah.
So you don't see it. So and again, not knowing my biggest fear was not knowing where people are going. They run off into the dark, and then it turns into a radio program, not a TV show, right? So and we don't want to overlight it, because then it looks like a football game, right? So there was a big balance without drawing attention to the equipment and drawing attention to the lights that would take the kids out of the experience, right? That's also the challenge of a show like this is, on a movie or a TV show, generally we light for one direction and it looks good that way. And then if you turn around, it looks bad, right? So we shoot one way and then we stop and we reset and we move all the equipment and then we shoot the other way, right? So that's how you do a movie or a scripted series. This, we had to be 360 all the time because we never knew where anybody was going to go. So therefore, we were worried about, seeing equipment, seeing, cables, and having it look good in all directions all the time. So most of the stuff I did is we lit from the top. I did a lot of top lighting in this. So, and we would hide equipment that way, but also our light. I just did most of the keying from overhead. So that's how we did a lot of it. And then we put lights so we would get them in the actor's eyes or the kid's eyes so we could still see their faces and stuff. But no, definitely it was a challenge. It was a challenge for sure. But I didn't know if you heard the story about the forest. What happened, the castle, we shot this in the middle of COVID, right? So that was a challenge. So the show pushed a couple times, and then we were getting ready to go to start, and then the fires came, and the fire came through the castle and burned part of the castle, but burned all the forest, a lot of the forest around it. So I flew up there to do kind of a reconnaissance mission to see what it looked like. And actually, it was one of these happy accidents. It created this whole forest that kind of, you know, looked like the forest in Wizard of Oz or something, right? It had burned off all the vines, it had burned off all the undercover brush, and it kind of opened up this dark forest that, and all the trees had this dark soot on them and ash, and it really worked to our advantage. So we smoked it up, and this forest became a character in the show. It was really heavy in it, and it just really worked out.
Wow, that is one happy accident.
Right, right.
I'm meaning to ask because I noticed the title is director of photography, and I was calling you photographer and cinematographer. Is there a difference between those two for those of us who don't work in this industry?
No, so there's director of photography in America. The short acronym is DP, or cinematographer. In other places, it's referred to as DOP, director of photography. But cinematographer and director of photography are interchangeable. Yeah, yeah.
What term do you prefer personally?
Cinematographer works. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Most excellent. But for you, Mark, how did you? When did you knew you wanted to get into this industry?
Oh wow, that's well, I didn't know. It was sort of a happy accident. I don't know. You ever just kind of stumble on something and it's just kind of natural to,
Yeah, like what I'm doing right now.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah, maybe you should be an interviewee, right? Yeah, I mean, I was, I was a guitar player in bands, and as a young man, and I played, all over the place when I lived in the South. And one of the guys that worked with me, was one of our roadies or whatever, he also worked at a film company. And this is when I was like 19 or 20 years old. And I had an interest in photography because I had, been the guy in school that loaded the projector for the movies in chemistry class. And I had an old Hawkeye Brownie camera, and I just loved watching little movies off of 8mm in the basement and developing film and stuff. So anyway, I just said to the guy, hey, if they're ever looking for somebody. And then one day he said they were looking for somebody in the video department. And anyway, I got the job, and the rest is history. I just kind of, everything I learned by doing. So I learned on the job, and I've shot just every format, everything you can ever imagine. I've done thousands of commercials and documentary, since I was 20 years old. So it's been a while. Yeah.
Does it get easier for you as time goes on? Or you just looked for bigger and better challenges?
That's a great question. It's second nature for sure. So there's a confidence that comes with that. But to your point, especially on a show like The Quest, is I love doing something I've never done before, which is kind of hard because, I've been around for so long. But you can take an ordinary, I hate getting into a rut. Like I don't want to have a style that just wears itself out and I keep shooting the same thing the same way all the time, right? So I want to shake it up. So that's the beauty of this business is you can shake it up. You just try to come at it with a different perspective, right? So what we work on, and I teach this to people too, I suggest this, is, most cameras out there now look good, right? I mean, you turn them on, they look good. So why would they hire somebody like me, or why would they pay extra or whatever? What you really want to develop as you grow as a filmmaker is your individual creative mind, your personal lens as a person, how you see the world, right? So and build an instinct around that, right? So that's what I've done. That's what I continue to do, is I work on me as a person, and I come up and I get different perspectives. I read, I travel, and I see a lot of different perspectives of the world, and then I incorporate that into my work, right? So it's like playing different guitars, or playing in different areas of the world or whatever. You adapt to it. So that's what keeps you sharp. That's what keeps it, because you learn the technical stuff, and then you already have that, and then now you open up the artistic box, and you say, okay, I have all these paint brushes. What am I gonna make here, right? And there's infinite amount of things you can do with it. And that's what you have to do, I think, as a filmmaker, is to continually break the programming of what you normally do, so that you continually evolve.
Wow, that is well said, Mark. I never saw that from a perspective, because we always think that, cinematographers and photographers, all they have to do is just sit behind the camera and just shoot. But all these perspectives, that's
For
a
sure. Well, and then the thing that comes with experience is, most of my job is preventing problems. On a show like The Quest, I mean, we're spending a lot of money a day, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And if you're doing that, you can't waste time. The most expensive thing in production is time. It's not the film, it's not the digital, it's not the actor, it's time. So you have to be efficient, you have to be accurate, and you have to already be ahead and solve problems before they happen. And that's what really makes you stand out. Because you to be artistic and to be efficient and fast, to put them all together is very difficult, right? If you have all day to shoot a scene, a very small scene, and it comes out beautiful, okay, you get a little, you get that once or twice, but that's not the real world of filmmaking. You're always on a schedule, you're always on a budget usually. And, but that pushes us. That pushes us to always think and always be ahead. And I think on some jobs, if things are too slow, I think you lose a creative momentum, I call it, and you lose your edge, right? And you can tell it in the actors, you can tell it in a lot of different things. So, it's always good to be pushing the envelope, but it is about, knowing that, hey, if I shoot here at 2 o'clock, the sun's going to come through, it's going to mess us up or whatever. You know how to plot your day and think efficiently for the project, as well as honoring the creative. So that's the most difficult part of it, is and also being able to run a crew, because there was 300 people on this show, right? So, yeah.
Was there a particular scene that was most challenging for you to overcome?
Probably the battle scene.
The battle scene?
We lost the sun.
Uh-huh.
We got behind, and we lost the sun. And we weren't done. Yeah. So we, you probably, I don't know if I want to mention it, but yeah, in the middle of it, me and the gaffer, Mike Perry, we had the biggest light we had on the shoot. It happened to be sitting in a lift, just, kind of hanging out in the parking lot. And I knew we were going to run out of light, and everybody's panicking. And we just looked at each other, because we had our masks on. We just kind of went, and we put the big light up in the sky, turned it on, and I had all the cameras shoot into a hill so we didn't see the black sky, and we smoked it up, and it matched. But that's exactly my point of being able to solve problems.
Yeah.
Right. So, otherwise you might have to come back another day, and that's unacceptable budget wise, right? It's massive amount of money, right?
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that, I guess what I want to say is to my clients, and, or whatever, to people, there's a safety factor, when we take on a job, so that to know that it's going to get done, right? And then that relieves a lot of stress. And it's not me, but it's, the team. It's a whole team. Every person that was hired on this, especially on The Quest, was not good, but exceptional, Like they were exceptional crew. You know, I couldn't have asked for a more efficient, smart, instinctual crew, and everybody was engaged. You know, they weren't just phoning it in. Nobody was on their, you know, they weren't just showing up for a job. We knew we were doing something different. We knew we were kind of charting new waters. So that kept that excitement up with everybody, even though everybody was dead tired or whatever. We just pushed through that because we knew we were doing something different, right? And everybody wanted to be a part of it. And we kept the morale high that way. And now that it's out and people can see it, you know, it's something to be proud of, right? Every now and then you do something that really, you go, this is why I do this. This is why I live in a world of, you know, not steady paychecks and uncertainty and all this. And then, you know, you get the magic job that says, okay, this is why I do what I do. It's magical, right?
Well, the results are certainly rewarding, and this is a great series. But you know, just conversing with you, I've learned that you should never cut corners. It's not a point and click project here.
Not this one, no. And you know, we did 8 episodes in 20 days. Like that's crazy. Like some shows do, you know, they take 15 days to do 1 episode. You know, 14 days. You know, 12 days. You know, so we did 8 in 20. That's, you know, that's pretty crazy, right? And we maintained the look, you know, without getting sloppy. That's the danger. You get going too fast, for sure. It's always a danger. You start getting sloppy. Things are just thrown together, and all of a sudden you lose, you know, you lose the vision because you got to get it done. And then that's when it hurts, because you've come this far, and to start to cut corners or get sloppy is just kind of unacceptable, right?
Absolutely. I'm curious, Mark, on a show like this, how much preparation do you have before the show? Because you said you know, it's a few days to actually, you know, for production, which is fairly quick. But what was this planned like over weeks or months?
Well, no, it was years actually. Well, in development, you know, the creatives were at it for quite some time. I don't know. I can't answer how long it took the scripts to be written, but I knew once we.
But what about for you? Like
for me, I mean, you know, technically it was 2 months, but I was on meetings for 4, 5, 6 months before that. You know, thinking about how we're going to do it, you know, and then once, because you never know if something's going to go or not, right? They say, you know, until they greenlight something, and then once something's greenlit, then it's like, bam, you got to get it going fast, right? So, you know, like I have several projects in development now that could happen or not happen. You don't know, but you're still working on them, right? You're still kind of developing them. But once we got the green light, it was a solid, at least 2.5 months, right? And I was up there a month before, you know, lighting it and plotting it, and, you know, getting everything, you know, everything was drawn out, all the, you know, everything was well prepared. And, you know, production is about pre-production. It's about being prepared as much as you can. And then you have the luxury of being spontaneous, right? You get, I call them the gotta haves and the wanna haves, right? You get the shots that you have to have, and then you leave time or some air to get the wanna haves, right? And just let things evolve. And that, a lot of that comes from preparation, and that's every single department. You know, when you're on a film set, you're working with everybody there is an artist. Every single person on the crew is an artist, right? And it's the only place where you get all art forms in one. You know, you have obviously photography, you have music, you have acting, you have costumes, you have sound, you have architecture, locations, you know, you have art department, you have all these different departments. And so every single department head and the people under it are artists. And you're trying to merge them all together to this one point in time and execute something, right? So that is magical when it happens.
That is terrific. Well explained. One more thing. I'm curious, since the quest is actually out, Was there any sequences I want to say that was abandoned, maybe because of the difficulty of the process or the production, or you guys managed to stick to the plan and got everything that every idea for the quest out there?
Oh, you mean did we cut a scene or two?
Yeah, yeah, or
Oh,
like you were about to film something and then then it was just like the decision like, oh, this would be too difficult because on a show like this I feel like there's so many moving parts that you guys would have
mhm.
to be so spontaneous and move in a different direction, or did you guys manage to follow everything and got everything check marked?
I don't remember if we cut scenes. We might have merged things. But what we did do is we broke up into different units. So we had two directors. We had Harold Kronk and Jack Cannon. Harold was doing the scripted portion, and Jack Cannon was doing the competition reality portion, right? So we would break up into, sometimes when the workload was too much, we had to break into two units, right? And that got a little difficult with communicating, but that was the only way we could, make our days sometimes. But remember, we're also working with minors, right?
Mhm.
So we were on limited schedules with them. And once they would say, the Paladins are coming, that was it. You had to finish. Like, you can't stop in the middle of a competition. You can't stop in the middle of a, reality bite. You have to push through and finish, right? So yeah, that was kind of how we made it happen, was by dividing and conquering.
Wow. And how do you divide and conquer if you're the only director of photography here?
Well, that's a great question. So what I ended up doing is we had our techno crane operator, Dave Ortiz. Obviously, a lot of these guys are very good friends of mine, but we've worked together so much, and he has so much experience in competition shows. I would stay with Harold on the scripted component, because really wanted to keep my eyes on that, keeping the creative there and helping out Kronk, and then the coverage of the competition. Dave was very good at that. So once the reality kicked in, like I was saying earlier, it turns into live television. There's only so much you can do. You can't back everybody up and do it again, right? So it is what it is, kind of thing. So I tended to hang out more with Harold on the scripted portions.
Most excellent. Well, Mark, I've taken a lot of your time already, so let me wrap this up. You mentioned that you have a few projects down the road already. Where are we heading off to? Narrative films, documentaries, reality. Probably
Oh,
not another The Quest right now.
yeah, no, there's not another quest out there yet. No, I have I think a film, a fairly large film in the fall coming up. Possibly television series. A lot of these are possibilities. I fill in the blanks between shows and projects with commercials and branded content. So that, and then I just got a call today for a possible documentary. So it's just it goes back to this uncertain lifestyle. You never really know where you're going to go, what you're going to do. It can drive relationships crazy, but it's also I can't go to an office every day either. So this is it's an amazing lifestyle when it works, and it keeps you sharp. That's it. There's no day is like the other. There's never a day. There's no Groundhog Day. It's always like something exciting. So and that keeps you young and sharp. And yeah, it's a great way of life if you can handle it. It's not for everybody, for sure.
Well, I always think that keeping busy and keeping your life exciting like this is the best life, anyways.
Yeah, yeah, and to make good content. Us as humans, we are. I don't want to use the word programmed, but we are influenced by what we see on the screen, right? So, my passion is to make content that is high quality, but also has a message. Even the quest, it's based on the virtues, and it's good solid value-based television, right? And I think we need more of that. I think, you know, we have enough fear-based television, you know, influencing our culture, making people, you know, fearful and sick, and just, you know, it's part of your it's part of your diet, right? So of what you watch. So we can also influence people and make, and, you know, there's hope and there's beauty and there's all kinds of things out there that, you know, that I love to be a part of, to put on the air so that people can be influenced in a positive way, right?
Absolutely. Well, you've done a terrific job with the Quest. I mean, I binged it all the way through
Did you?
all at once.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like it's like an 8-hour movie to me. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's good to hear. I mean, you know, our job is to keep people interested, right? If you get bored, you're going to change the channel. So at least you, I hope you stayed interested enough to watch it, that you didn't just watch it so you could do this interview. But, you know, I think that's our job, is to, you know, this is different, right? And you want to keep watching because it's a little different. You want to see what's going to happen next, right? So.
yeah, and I really love this conversation with you, is particularly all the behind the scenes. I never knew the complexities, but Mark, you are good at what you do, and I'll have to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
So,
yeah, well, I have a great team. I had a great team.
So thank you very much for carrying this conversation with us about the Quest, cinematography, photography, everything in between. And hopefully, you know what, we get to do this again.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, and I'd love to see you know, this when it's done, wherever it goes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mark.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye.